Okay. So the topic for today is communication. I wanted to start with um, quick workshop, 2, 3 questions. It'll be real quick because there's only 4 of us, but we'll do it nonetheless. So when it comes to communication, I wanted to ask you guys, what is the purpose of being in a relationship anyway? What is the purpose of relationships? Why do we need them?
Uh, why do we need them? Relationships, first to create a family. If depends on the type of relationship you're looking. If it's something to get a family going. The other type of relationship is just to have fun. So those are the two types that I know of. One is to fool around, or the other one is to actually create a family. Anybody else? Correct me if I'm wrong.
So I would say that we're social beings, and one of the worst punishments is solitary confinement. So we need somebody to like share our experience of life with.
Yeah, I think those are all right. I relate to all those. I guess I could add, like, it's like a growth thing, right? Because anything that annoys you that much has to be doing some good for you. Alex?
Good. So this is ideal, right? The whole growth thing, but really, who gets into a relationship because they want to grow? I need somebody to push me. Um, but yeah, usually people find themselves missing something, and they feel that relationships will give them to will give that to them. And so they look for a partner, somebody to complete them, somebody to add to their life, somebody to maybe give them an opportunity to add to somebody else's life. Basically, somebody to complete me, right? Because just being me is not fulfilling as it could be. So then the second question, and we could probably have a few questions in between, but delving straight into the topic of our day, which is communication. Then what do you think is the purpose of communication in the relationship? What do you think is the purpose of communication in the relationship?
Uh, Purpose of communication or relationship is to try to understand, make the other person understand what kind of person you are. Uh, Try to see their wants and their not wanting. Uh, um, Try to get mostly information going back and forth. Communication is part of the information. Trying to find out how's this person feel, what is she's looking for, or an everyday. I'm not saying everyday routine, but if there's no communication, I don't know what my partner's doing or where is she's planning for her future or what she wants out of me. So I need that information from her. In the same way, if I want her to understand what I'm looking for or what do I need to let her know because nobody here can read minds. If they can, that'll be a different story.
So I would say it's a method for sharing experience. Like how's it going over there? Let me tell you how it's going over here.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, understanding and enjoyment. Enjoyment to enjoy each other as well when possible. Alex?
Socrates, can you speak? All right, so we'll wait for Socrates to come in next round. For now, the purpose of communication. It's interesting what you guys said, right? I mean, it is a way to convey information. It is a way to understand the other person, what they want, where they are, what kind of day they had, how they're feeling. Communication is it has a very interesting component, and actually it's tying down to really the purpose. What am I trying to communicate? What is the purpose for us talking? What do I want out of the other person? What do I want to give the other person? And so when you enter a flow of communication, when you start talking to your partner, or really anybody, you sometimes enter that sweet spot where the conversation just flows, where you begin to interact on a completely different level of ideas, or just sharing, or something where you hit it that's like in common. And it begins to elevate you, and you begin to feel closer. And then there are different types, even with the same person, where you feel like so many roadblocks in trying to understand what they want, and trying to understand how to talk to that person even. And it's interesting because it can be the same person, but Socrates says purpose of communication is to have continued growth. Very cool. Welcome, Julian.
Hi guys, sorry for the delay. How are you doing?
Very good. We hear you kind of low though.
What?
Your mic's really low.
Okay, let me see.
And here, Socrates is in San Francisco. And here, and I want us to talk about this third question. The purpose of life, especially for men, we got to have some purpose, something that we live for. And the question is, why is it important to have a purpose that's higher than me? And if you already have something, you can share it.
I don't have any, I mean, maybe the purpose of my life is to educate the kids, my kids, for them to do something greater than I got to. You know, I went to the service, but how much is that? I didn't do anything besides just serve. Right now, what I'm doing is just providing for 3 kids so they can do better than what I did. I don't know, maybe my son becomes the next president of the United States, or maybe he becomes the greater evil in this country. So you don't know that. It's just, and the same thing with my daughters, you know, but for me to say that I know what my purpose is right now, I couldn't answer you that, because I'm still searching, trying to figure out, even though at this stage, my life, but they say it's never too late for anything, but still, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what's the reason God put me in this earth? And that's the thing I'm working on, trying to figure out myself. So.
So you opened up by asking us, or saying that the purpose of a relationship is to come to some sort of completion. And I think that we're never really fully complete. We're always developing new desires. And so it's like to be striving to be more than we are now is important. It's like, you know, it gives flavor to the human experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think this word completion, I think a lot of people feel it, and we're not sure what it is. Like I don't feel complete. If you're to ask me, I don't feel that, but I want it. Right? This becomes a problem, a big problem, I think. Sorry, Socrates.
good questions. These are all great reflective questions, and that I've asked myself at one point or another. And I think for me personally, I'm going to venture to say that it's a consistent striving to serve and serve more people. Like, so I've got a continued goal of what have I done for others today, and tomorrow hopefully I can do more for more people, and it continues that way. And that's and it all comes back to communication, right? So I need to be able to communicate more effectively to be able to serve more effectively, right? And even in the realm of relationship, right? It's the same type of thing. So for me, it's going to be serving. Let's see, is anybody else? Julio, I guess I'll pass it to you.
I think he's on the phone right now. Right. It's a very interesting question. It's a question that I've been also mulling for myself. Purpose of life. What am I here for, and all of that. And listening to the different people. I think that there is a higher purpose. Julian, you want to answer it?
Yeah, sorry guys, I got a phone call. Okay, I think that as a human beings or purpose like men's, I think it's like perpetuate a human life. I don't know. In relationship, I think a purpose is just like a providers, but keep for me is trying to keep always the growth of the both parts. Yeah, as a woman that has is your companion, so you have to grow every day, and if he is with her, too much better. No, that's my opinion, man.
For sure. So here, and it's interesting because they always try to relate it to nature, right? Because I think nature is the ultimate wisdom. It has everything we need to kind of understand where we are and where we're going. And I think nature has a very interesting way it's set up with seeds, right? With plants. If we look at a seed already has within it the final outcome. Meaning a seed is going to be a certain type of plant. It cannot be any other type of plant. If it's an apple tree, it's going to always be an apple tree. The quality of the apple tree though depends on the environment, right? How much water it gets, the quality of the earth it's in, if it gets all the nutrients that it needs, and then that kind of sets in motion the type of tree that it's going to be. I mean, the quality of the tree, the quality of the apples, the sweetness of the apples. And so it's similar, I was thinking, when it comes to people too. Every person is born with certain qualities, innate qualities that allow them to, if they're realized, if they're worked on and developed, it allows that person to grow into a more realized sense of self, meaning he can give those fruits of himself that benefit others. Like a tree creates a whole ecosystem around it, right? Birds and other insects and animals live off of a whole tree in all aspects of it. It provides shade. It cleans the air like all plants do. It has many functions within the ecosystem. And people are the same way. We're not isolated by all means. It seems sometimes like a person is isolated, but just like A seed, a person is influenced by everything that's around us. The things we watch, the people we talk to, the books we read, all of these different ideas, they influence us. Essentially, I believe it's because there is a certain higher me that all of these things are arranged in order to draw me to that point. In my state, like a seed, I have no idea what it is. I don't know how I'm gonna look like. I don't know what type of fruit I'm gonna give, but I know that there is a higher self. And many religions and spiritual practices, they speak about this higher self that we're kind of raised towards. And I think if nature has anything to show us, then we see all aspects of life, they grow into something. And here man is very curious because a man has an ability, unlike any other creature, to have freedom of choice, to choose specifically. And here I want to hear from you guys, what choices do we have also? But maybe I'll preface it with what I think, which is if my environment influences me, then the only freedom of choice I have is what is going to influence me, what type of values, what kind of thoughts, what type of environment am I setting for myself? I want to hear it from you guys. Let's do a quick round. What freedom of choice do we have? I don't know if the question is clear. If you guys have any questions, go ahead.
No, I got a question. I think I lost you for a second, trying to figure out. You asking us what kind of choice, free choice do we have according to our environment? In other words, the way we live, the way it's associated, who we have around, um, is also associated with what kind of a partner do we have, or is it, in other words, orientation or the ways you were brought up? Is that the question?
The question is, specifically, what do I have the ability to choose in my life? What options am I choosing? How do I see my freedom to choose, right? Is it just like between an apple and a pear, or is it more than that? What influences my choice and how do I choose?
Well, for a human, it's completely different than a plant. Like you said before, you can get an apple or seed from an apple. That's all you're going to get unless you're trying to be a chemist and decide to switch that around. But a human, you have a choice. You have certain choice. There's certain things you were brought up, the way you were brought up, then you start working on that. But you eventually, you have the mindset to change that. You can say, there's one thing, everybody, let's say everybody in my family was police officer. It doesn't make it that I want to be a police officer just because my dad and my grandfather and everybody else was a police officer. I can do something else. In other words, instead of being a civil servant, I can do something else. It's really up to the person itself to decide what they want to do. Those are the free choices you have. Now, God forbid I was born in a dictatorship country, then is either I either go to school and become whatever they decide me to do, or I go straight to the military. Either or. Those are the choices which you don't have. So my choice would be something that will make me happy, not something that will make somebody else happy. Those are the stuff I would do for myself.
I think I'm gonna jump in real quick on this. I'm gonna leverage what Oswaldo just said. I think it's powerful what he said. I'm also gonna say that even in a communist country, Oswaldo, you still have one other choice: is you can get the hell out of there, right? So you don't have to be in that. So the point to that is that the choices are unlimited assuming you have the tolerance for the pain that it takes to go through the outcome of a particular choice. So as we get older, there's a level of wisdom that we don't have the luxury of having when we're younger, right? So when Alex speaks about your environment and the people you're around and your religion, all those things affect a younger mind in leveraging what choices they think they have, right? But as you get older, you realize that the choices really are, without a doubt, unlimited. Again, assuming that you're capable of understanding the pain or the pleasure that are associated to that particular choice. Does that make sense? If you're overweight, I'm going to talk about that because that's my specialty, right? If you're overweight, a series of choices led you to being overweight. You know, you didn't just wake up one day and were fat, sick, and about to die, right? You know, a consecutive set of choices is what led to that. If you decide you wake up one morning, you look in the mirror, and you go, "Damn, wow, I got surprised. I didn't realize I was so overweight." Well, then you got to start making another set of particular choices, right? And each one of those choices has a particular outcome, and they are associated with pain and pleasure. So it's not as simple as saying, you know, what choices you have available, because each choice is tied to a result, right? And you have to understand those results ahead of time. It's almost like having to have a crystal ball, which is, again, where your environment or your mentors or the people you are surrounded around play an effect on that. You can essentially have faster results when you surround yourself with people that actually have those results that you want, right? They say like minds, right? Like minds have like thoughts, therefore you have like actions, right? But also, like you said, Oswaldo, just because you're in an environment of like-minded people, like a police family, doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you have to embrace that you know, that way of life, or those groups of that grouping of choices. You might have a different, you know, aspiration to yourself. So that's where I'll leave it on. Pass it to the next guy, whoever's available.
Yeah, I really relate to what you guys have said, and I guess I would boil it down to that a lot of times we don't have a choice in what happens to us, but we do have a choice about the story we tell about what happens to us. You know, we really, you know, have a choice of like how we respond, but you know, our response could be to move out of that environment, like Socrates was just saying, you know, to a more favorable environment for what we're up to. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, there's been a lot here. I'm gonna listen, and it's true. It's all true. I mean, look, you know, I think we're driven by pain and pleasure. Socrates said it a few times there, and I go towards pleasure. I go away from pain. You know, there's choice. You know, like I guess you get to choose your environment. You know, Socrates, this is what he's saying. Like but yeah, I mean, there's these long-term things where you can take pain, but in the end, it's like, man, I want pleasure. I mean, we're talking about relationships. I don't know, a couple of lessons ago or whatever. And someone said like, yo, I'm looking for, it's pleasure. You know, that's it's true. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that.
I just want to be happy, right? That's what he said. Oswaldo said it.
That's it. That's words of wisdom. He knows, like, that's what I do. I'm a pleasure seeker. I got it, you know. Whoever's next.
Okay, guys, I think you can choose anything of you, what you want in your life, no? Really, sometimes you can get easy or hard, and your choices define your path. and your experiences lead to make more conscious choices in the future. But definitely you have to make your environment according what do you want, like Socrates says. And that's I got for you guys.
Andre, what influences our decision? How do we make choices?
Well, first, I just wanted to come say a quick hello, support you guys, make sure that this is it right here, right? This support, this is what drives everything home, because now everyone here has an outlet, right, to express themselves as opposed to bringing all that baggage home. So I think that the common desire to succeed here in a relationship, it's very targeted. So I'm not sure if that was the question, but I'm just here to quickly say I'm here, and I'm here for you guys, even if it's 5 minutes. Um, love you guys. I'll watch the recording, okay?
Awesome, man. So this whole topic of choices and pain and pleasure, when I was getting into psychology, for sure, the first thing that stood out is pain and pleasure. It's simple, right? Even when I was just getting into it, I had a conversation with a guy at work, and I'm like, you don't do anything you don't want to do. He's like, what do you mean? I go to work. I don't want to go to work. I'm like, of course you don't want to go to work, but you also know that if you sit your ass in front of the PS2 or whatever it was at the time, I'm like, you're not going to have enough money to support your way of life that you enjoy. So you realize in your calculation that you need to go to work, even if you hate it, to get the money that you want in order to afford your lifestyle. He's like, okay, cool. And he was like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But I think deeper than that, and what kind of dictates what I do, is my definition of pleasure and pain. Because essentially the definition that I got from the environment when I was younger, right, from parents and upbringing and everything else, and that's the difference why some people are lazy and other people are hardworking. Because you get that type of definition early on. And so that underlying layer of pleasure and pain is what determines. So I had a lot of, not a lot, but I had some conversation with, when I was doing female groups, why am I single? Why am I single? And so I started talking to her, and we realized through conversation that your subconscious mind basically has defined that being single is less painful than being in a relationship. That's why we're single. Somewhere deep inside, there is a calculation that either through past experience or from experience they've seen through their close people, that when I'm single, it's less painful. And so there's a lot of work that we can do in the group to begin to change these little underlying beliefs that kind of guide us. And not just guide us, they determine our whole way of life, and often give us results that we may not necessarily want. If we get back to the topic of communication, right, in a family, what I see often is when a couple tries to talk, because they're different people essentially, right? They have different communication styles, they have different desires, they have different drives for pain and pleasure. What ends up happening is a conversation turns into a battlefield of who's right and who's wrong. And instead of creating a common space, which is what communication ideally does, right? It creates not borders between us, but borders around us, where through these conversations together, we begin to build a safety wall, where our family is our family. Inside the family, we can be open, we can be accepting of each other, we can, meet challenges and rise above them. And we do it in a very specific way. So a lot of people just reaching that egoistic point, right? Where it's so bare, where you begin to talk to another person and you realize that it's like you're naked, but you don't want to be naked. And so you begin to build that wall between you. And then she begins to build that wall. And then you begin to fight amongst each other of who's got the control over the conversation. And then it just leads to a whole mess of things. And the art here is, how do we establish such open communication that instead of ruin and collapse on each other, we create safety and we create acceptance and we create openness. So I want to throw this back on you guys and see how do we turn relationships from battlefields of who is more right or more wrong to relationships of cooperation, developing mutual field between us, for us to begin to develop an area that is commonplace for everyone in the family.
Doc, I suggest you take this one because you've been through it and I want to listen what you got before I make a comment.
You mean
So I gotta-
me?
Yeah, I know. You were saying me what. Reword the question one more time again, Alex, so I can really understand what you're.
Yeah. How do we communicate in the family so that instead of building walls between us, essentially creating a battlefield of who is more right and who is more wrong,
I got it.
right? When we establish dominance over the relationship, and instead create a mutual field of cooperation.
Okay, and thank you, Oswaldo, because you have a little bit of insight into my what's going on here. So for me, the biggest challenge was to understand that that any perception of right or wrong that I had was created by whatever history I was bringing to the relationship, and in realizing that, I also had to realize that the person that I was trying to communicate has also a plethora of rights or wrongs that they bring into the relationship as well. And I think I hinted at the last time we had one of these, I hinted at the fact that that baggage is, even knowing that you have it doesn't mean that it goes away, right? You still always have that baggage with you. So the only thing you could have is the awareness that exists. So once I understood that I was going to be speaking to somebody without making them right or wrong, I would choose my words and more appropriately. So, and I think I even laid out a script, right? I said, hey, look, listen, I said I would like to sit down and have a little conversation with you. In the conversation, I'm not shitting on you or trying to make you right or wrong in the situation. I just want you to hear me out, and then you're going to have a moment to actually talk back to me, where I'm not going to speak, interrupt you as well. But I just want to know that, I want to let you know that, and then I would go into the script. I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy. I'm not going to pretend that this is good. I'm not going to pretend that this is great. I'm not going to pretend, I'm going to talk about the pretense that I've been living prior to the communication. And I'm going to then go into the resulting effects, right? How it's affected me personally, and my emotions, because we haven't been able to communicate, right? And then I would go into what I feel are also the resulting negative things between us, why we haven't been able to communicate, because of this lack of stories of making making her wrong or making me wrong, or making her right and making me right about doing certain things. And then ultimately, if I want to have a continued relationship or a continued communication with this party that I'm making the space for, I would then, conclude the script by saying, this is what I see. This is the resulting effect of us actually having a free speech or, you know, free communication between us. This is the paradise that I see, right? If I'm not trying to get to that paradise, if I'm trying to actually close a part of my life, right? If I'm with somebody that I say that I've already made the decision that, look, listen, I don't want to have this person in my life. You still have to have this communication. And this is, I think Alex is going to agree with me on this, is you still have to have that hard communication, that emotional communication to close a chapter in your life, as well as to open better, you know, better pathways in that life. So to me, I think that step one is the awareness that you do bring baggage to the communication, and that that's the first step. You know, not trying to make anybody right or wrong in the communication. It's super challenging, guys. This is why we're here with this group, right? This is why we're trying to learn these little techniques. But if you could make the other person feel like you're communicating without them being the villain, and you being the hero, it's a huge win for the communication. I don't know, Oswaldo, is that what you wanted me to say? Because that's how I feel.
Yeah, the reason I asked you to talk first because you were going through a bad time, but you're still together. So something in your relationship, the communication got better for you to stay with the person that you are with right now. And the reason I didn't want to talk because I had two failed relationships.
Yeah.
One because I don't know if I should bring it up, but the thing is, it didn't work out the first one, the mother of my kids. But it wasn't because communication was bad or anything like that. It's just her choice of what she wanted for herself, her preference. Let's put it that way. Now that time has passed by, I communicate with her really good because my ego is not involved in it. So I listen to her and I just soak in what the information she's trying to provide me, and I can respond to her with no problem. But there's no, my ego is not there involved, so she can tell me whatever.
Is
I'm
it
not gonna
ego
take it
though?
personally.
Is it ego, or is it the awareness that you no longer have a story about her? Because that's
I
what
don't have a
Alex was talking
story.
about,
It's yeah,
right?
it's a
You know,
story with her.
because
It's just because your ego's involved with a relationship. So I'm the man and you're my woman. So if you say something, it's gonna hurt
that's
me.
your story though.
Right.
That's
Guys,
your
let's
story. Yeah.
guys, I forgot to mention the rules of the workshop. We want to make sure that everybody has a platform to speak.
Okay.
And I want to, no, I want you to speak. I'm just saying that we don't want to comment because then it creates back and forth and leaves everybody else aside. So I
All
want
right,
to,
Doc.
everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets a chance to express themselves.
Doc, one of these days we'll sit down and have a beer, you know, when this all is over and we can chillax. We have a lot of things to talk.
All of us. It's not just you and me. It's you, me,
Yeah,
Julio,
well, it'd be nice. I
Dan.
don't know about
We need to
Julio.
we
I
need
don't
to
know.
do we need to figure out, now that the flights are cheap, we need to figure out where we all are, like you know, geographically, but get a cheap flight somewhere and really and hug and talk and
Come
Okay,
to New York. Plenty of empty real
of
estate here.
course.
We'll rent a
no.
house. We'll
Let's go to Jamaica. So that part of my relationship was done. Okay, but now that we're not longer involved, communication is great. Now getting to the last one, it was hard because again, the situation that I had before and trying to listen to this person, I wasn't listening correctly. And my information that I was giving her, she wasn't receiving it correctly. But we're no longer together. And God forbid, we're getting to understand each other now. So I don't know if it helps the information that I'm trying to provide everybody, but to me is just listen to them. Put yourself in the situation that they're in so you can understand where they're coming from or where they're getting the idea that they're trying to provide you instead of judging that person or accusing her or to the same extent that you need to tell her, say, look, I'm not here to argue, but we need to communicate. We need to talk. But put yourself when you're trying to bring up to me, put yourself in my shoes and understand that what you're telling me how would I feel? And throw it back to yourself. How would you feel if I was telling you that? That's the only thing I have. Uh, Ben, I believe Ben is next.
Yeah, thanks, Osvaldo and Socrates. I really relate to what you guys are saying. Go
Guys,
ahead.
call me Ozzy. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna put Ozzy on next
Ozzy.
time I'll go
All
out.
right.
Thank you.
Okay. Won't make that mistake again. Maybe. I hope. So yeah, I think I'm going to say what you guys said in just different words, but I think that how we create an atmosphere of like openness and cooperation, I think it begins with vulnerability, like just admitting like that I'm not perfect and that I've got things going on and that I'm probably projecting my own wants and needs onto you and just like really admitting that you know that I'm taking responsibility for what happens in the conversation, and I think another good way is to just say, like, instead of saying it has to be this way, it's like, well, my preference is, or I feel better when, or that kind of thing. And it was something else too. It was like I think it's something like when the other person has expectations of me, just like saying, well, when you do that, I feel this way, and focus it on feelings rather than then the person has a choice, instead of just defending themselves. So that's just what I had to add. How about Dan?
Yeah, I think Ben, he brought up the word feelings, right? You gotta go into this stuff. And people don't have control of their feelings. They feel how they feel. Oh, don't be angry. Wait. Oh, yeah, I'll just go hit the button, right? So, I mean, this is what all the guys are saying. I mean, this is what I perceive. It's like you just gotta have all this baggage too, right? And we all got it and whatever. And I'm sure the ego's in there somewhere. It's a real pain in the ass, but you have to somehow drop it at the door, right? And I think the feeling thing really, I was at a rally, a political rally a long time ago, and we're not going to go there, but people were really angry, right? And they're screaming back and forth, and I'm not saying anything. And finally, I looked at this one girl. I said, "Look, why don't you just tell me how you feel?" "What?" "Yeah, just tell me how you feel." And she goes, "Okay." And she starts explaining to me her feelings. By the time we were done, we were hugging. It was just no one ever cared to know how she felt. So that's another thing. Those emotions are a big deal in this topic, I think. And it gives you some distance because people can't control them. And I know you guys know that already, though. Julio.
Thanks, Dan. Answering the question of Alex, I think the tips for a great communication in family will be, first of all, eliminate all egos, like Osvaldo and Socrates said. Trying to put in others' pants, yeah. Trying to pick right words, like Socrates says too. I agree with that. And really listen to the other person. Yeah, this is very important. Really listen, because to me happen a lot with my wife, and I talk with her, but she don't listen me really. And definitely trying to pick common topics. Yeah, because if you really don't have common topics with your partner in their communication, maybe the communication though it's not fluid. Thank you.
That's good. To turn it into other words, we have two functions as people. either instinctive or aware. If we approach our communication instinctively, then instinctively, whatever emotions arise, I can flare up, I can get upset, I can just lose myself, and then I turn, I'm not me, I'm just an animal, right? Whatever instincts that are triggered, this is what drives me. If I can approach the communication from a point of view of, right, it's like sailing sail. You have a concrete direction. It's like you're setting, so I'm about to talk to my wife, I'm setting the scenario. We have all of these things in common, not personally, like personality-wise. We have kids, we have a home, we have responsibilities. We have all of these things that are ours, they're mutual. And what's more important to me is for there to be peace in the home. And for me to have peace in the home, I'm willing to take a lot of shit, which is okay. Because what's important for me is not to dwell in my instincts, but to rise above it to a different level of communication. And so when we approach our communication in such a way where, on one hand, she can say things that trigger me. On the other hand, even though I feel it, I separate myself from that. And still, instead of having a back and forth, we can explore a topic. I can ask her how she feels. Essentially, I become a therapist, right? I become a psychotherapist. I ask her how do you feel? Not because I'm just trying to. So again, the intention, right? Why am I doing this? I'm not just doing this to get her to vent, because I understand that behind these words, it's like digging for a treasure. You're digging for the treasure, because something is going to come out of it that's going to make me say, aha, she's right. Because she is right. Every time she says something about me it's like, well, listen, you're not investing in a relationship like you used to. We used to have a conversation every day. Now you come once a week. What do you want? I have all of this pent up stuff. And then I realize she's right. So it makes me readjust. And essentially, when my goal is to keep the peace in the home, because I realize that my wife influences everything that happens around my house. It influences how I feel during the day, how productive I can be at work, how much I can invest in other people and my kids, and her mood influences our entire family. So yes, I have my periods where I'm like in a total slump and I don't want to see anybody. But after I go through it and I regain myself and I have the opportunity to kind of recalculate my position like a torpedo, it's like they give this analogy of the torpedo. They set the missile or the torpedo, and then the torpedo has a goal. And based on that goal, it constantly readjusts itself, but it's never to the point. Same with airplanes, right? They constantly have to readjust yourself, the airplane, based on where they're going. And the goal, which is why I was talking about an environment, the goal we can get only from the environment, not specifically, but only from the environment. Because if one environment, we look at it and it talks about values of riches and self-care, and you got to think about yourself and what do you have compared to the other, and you got to fit a certain image to be in that society. Another society, another community, another surrounding may speak about growth and help for the other, and kind of investing in support and less judgment. So I'm like, okay, I want to be more a part of that, because there I feel like it's more fruitful ground. And that ties into my freedom of choice, because I'm influenced 100% by my surrounding, by what I watch, what I listen to, even what I eat determines my thoughts. I started noticing it lately, and it's freaking me out, because I love to eat, man. But when I eat vegetables and when I eat like tons of meat, it's a completely different thought. It's weird. And then you start realizing that on one hand, I'm a complete machine. that is operated by all of these external signals. And on the other hand, I still have freedom of choice because I can determine what influences me. And it's not always nice and it's not always pleasant. And, you know, I have my old habits and I have my old things that kind of still control me, but there's also something that I realize that is the goal, right? That I know needs to influence me, that I know can help me come out of these different states. And so I come to that, and this is my environment. That's kind of it. I want to take some questions if you guys have any.
I have a question. So what happens if you have a disagreement about what environment you want to expose yourself to? I could give an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I reached a point where I stopped drinking and I really didn't want to be around people who were drinking and partying. And my ex-wife was like, that was her element, was to be at a party, socializing with people. And I would rather be by myself, you know, not, if it was a choice between being around people drinking and being by myself, by far I would be by myself, you know, and I would get my socializing some other place, you know. So yeah, I guess that's my question, is how you might handle that.
So just to clarify, so the disagreement is between you and your partner. She wants to go out with people who drink and party, and you say, I am perfectly fine not doing that.
Yeah, there's another element to it. You don't love me because you don't want to go with me to the parties.
I don't love you because I don't want to go with you to the parties? To be honest with you, it sounds like a manipulation technique. So it's different it's different when. So okay, if it's a real claim, right, that she doesn't feel loved, then clearly I want her to feel loved. So I'm curious though, like what about me going out with you to this type of environment, what about it makes you feel loved? Dig deeper, because you will find something that you both can do that can substitute for that. Maybe. If she's just a party girl and you're a completely different type of personality, then you can consent to do it based on your, level of comfort. If she does it every week, you can consent to do it once a month, once every 2 months, so that she feels your involvement. But you cannot change who you are. You can explain it to her too. It's like, listen, just like I can't ask you to sit with me 3 hours a day and read books side by side, because that's not you. You can't expect me to every week have to go out, because that's not me, So you can have these different conversations. But to me, it sounds like just total incompatibility. It's great to go out. It's great to have fun. You can also find, depending on the environment, that you're not the only guy who doesn't want to be there. So you can find different friends within that environment that you can connect to on a different level. And that can even go to your benefit. So again, it just depends on the general situation. Anything else?
No, thanks. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Also, you'll find general disagreements. They're a little more substantial than, just, you don't want to go out with me. just because I think, you know, if there are deep, that there may be deeper issues that just warrant talking through in these situations.
I had, well, past tense. My thing was that every weekend there was a social gathering. Every weekend there was something to do with her friends. And 90% of the time, I was the only guy. And I was like, I don't want to go. This is a girl stuff. Why you want to drag me to these stuff? It got to a point, she's like, oh, I'm going out with, we're all getting together. I say, so whose boyfriend, husband is going? Oh, no, just you. I say, okay, so why you want me there? I understand you need my company, but why should I go there? Because most of the time you're gonna be talking to your girls, and I don't have anything in common with your girlfriends. There's nothing I can conversate about. There's no man there. But still, I did that for what, 4 years? To the point that I was like, to the end, I was like, yeah, no, just go by yourself, enjoy yourself. If you need me to pick you up, I'll pick you up. But there's nothing in common with them.
Man, I
And
can't believe
most
you
of your
lasted 3
girls are,
years like that.
well, because you're in love and you do stuff to please your partner. Plain and simple. That's the only thing you do. You try to make sure that that you become the giver, like you become a giver. All of a sudden you give and give and give and give. To the point it's like, okay, I don't have any satisfaction. If I go there, all I'm doing is sitting there and drinking a beer and looking at people. That's it. There was nothing else
So
for me to do because there was nothing in common with them unless they brought their boyfriends or their significant other. But 90% of the time, they were all single. She was the only married one.
right. So in that case, I wouldn't even come out for the second time. Not to me, like 3 years in a row. Because essentially you gotta ask yourself a different question. Um, because what I see is um, giving, right? And you can see it through your kids. We can all appreciate giving if there is enough of a no, right? If there is a resistance, because then when you give, there's something to it. If
Right.
I constantly give to my kids everything they want, they don't appreciate it, and I see they don't appreciate it. You know, it's thrown everywhere. It's broken on the second, third day. There's no appreciation. But if I say no, 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 but then when they do something good, then it's a reward. It's an actual, right? It's giving. Then they appreciate it, and they appreciate the type of relationship too. You are
Well,
not meant to be a rag, right? You can in the house. That's her domain. Whatever she wants you to do in the house, that's you can be as much of a rag as you want.
no problem with
But
that.
in social environments, what is she trying to say to your girls? Oh, look, I got my boy in here. He's doing what I want. No, it's like, listen, I have self-respect. There is going to be no men there. I have nothing in common with you girls. And what do you want me to do? Why do you want me around women anyway?
Yeah, no, really. Yeah, that was my point. I said, okay, hold on. All you girls are single. What's the point of me going over there? What kind of conversation am I gonna? What? You want me to teach them something?
So, again, I feel like through conversation, you could have, like, after saying a couple of no's, maybe, and it's just a hypothesis, right? Because we're never going to know. But maybe she had experience where she was blamed or accused in the past for going out, that she's doing something she's not supposed to do. And so she's like, well, come with me now, see what I'm doing. I don't know.
But
I'm-
Alex, after a while, I start saying no. I like, and no, no, no. The final straw for her, I guess, her. There was a graduation in Arizona. There were 9 women, and I'll be the only guy. I'm like, no, I'm not going to that trip. What we're gonna do, we're all gonna be locked up in one house. Okay, you got all your friends. What happens if one of them walks out inappropriately, thinking that nobody's there? And that was my final straw. Like, no, just go ahead, enjoy yourself, and let me know. So, but that was her final straw towards me. So,
This is, man, I would love to sit down with you two if you were still together and really get to the bottom of this, because that does not make sense to me at all.
well, we're not together, and now conversation is completely different.
Sure, because you're not tied to each other.
Exactly. Now the
Right.
conversation is, she's expressed herself, I listen to her, and I explain myself differently. I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. That doesn't make sense what you're telling me. That's the type of conversation that I have with her. And I don't know if I can keep talking because I have one scenario that it was brought up to my attention because she goes, oh, I'm talking to somebody. So, okay, that's good. What are your intentions toward the guy? I asked her. No, I want to keep him as a friend. I said, does he know that? And she goes, no, but I keep telling him no. I tell him that. I say, now let me ask you a question. Brooke, did you kiss him? She goes, yeah. I said, you're giving the guy mixed feelings. You don't do that. Now the guy thinks that he has a chance. You should have told him in the beginning. You don't assume stuff like that. So that's the type of conversation I'm having with her because I can actually express myself and knowing that, hey, I don't got nothing to lose. I don't got nothing to gain. And in the beginning of the relationship with her, that was the way I was. All of a sudden, I start losing that and losing and losing and losing. Next thing you know, I lost myself completely.
Yeah, that what happens is we lose boundaries. We got to constantly watch our boundaries. And
Exactly.
respectfully, but we have to understand what they need and what they want, and within their boundaries, concede where we can when it's reasonable, but at the same time, no is perfectly fine.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So the boundary thing I caught right off the bat, like that's definitely happens to me. And so that's what the group would support. Like that's why we need this group, right? This is like, do other males help with that? Or I get it, you have to adjust as you go, but like, where's the support for that?
That's good. So I'll as I understand it, I'll basically, I want to concede to my wife or my partner because she fulfills me by appreciating what I do for her. So when I do, and I do, and it's not met with a certain level of appreciation, I either stop doing or I lose like levels of self-respect, which is why when we're in a relationship as men, we cannot take our self-esteem from that relationship. Meaning I cannot base my self-esteem on my level of interaction with her. My self-esteem has to be tied on something external. So what that means is, right, like we talked about little boys, right? Little boys grow up to be men when they accomplish, when they overcome resistance, where they gain experience. They don't gain that experience in the house necessarily. They gain it by going out with the boys, by doing certain things with dad. By this masculinity is external, is a drive that sets you from the house outwards. And so from that, you want to begin to gain your self-esteem, because when you begin to do that, it builds you up. And then you can also structure your home accordingly, but you structure your home, not your wife. Within the house, whatever she needs. The moment her authority begins to go out of the house by telling you what to do or what she'd like you to do, then no. You'll get groceries according to your own time. but you have to do it, within reason. You can't just be like, yeah, I'll get groceries, and then 3 weeks later you're like showing up with the food. Within reason. But you have to set the boundaries. And you do it by having something outside of you that pulls you, that you are egoistically, you're there. Meaning your eye is not in the house, it's outside. Hobbies or work or wherever you feel yourself fulfilled, it has to be external. Does that make sense? Then also, I don't know how to say it without it sounding a little weird, but a woman has to be just a little bit afraid of a man, just a little bit. Because then it's respect, essentially. You don't want to be a tyrant, but you want to show up with a little bit of respect so that everything that you actually give to the family is appreciated and not just taken for granted because, well, you have nothing better to do. Let's say, okay, a president of the US or whatever, president or a CEO, whatever he's investing in his family is appreciated a lot more, right? Because he's an important man. So then whatever little he can actually give to his family, as far as his time, his investment, his communication with the wife, slightly on a different level. So that's why we want to focus on, like Socrates is doing right now, working out and stuff. We want to focus on these type of stuff.
Like Julio playing soccer and stuff like that, something outside the house. So yeah, or working out or riding bike. And it's like, look, I got workout time between this time and that time. So
I'd like to say one thing. I was exactly like Ozzy for 10 years, kind of just being pulled to places and doing things I didn't want to do until I got the communication skills to just first tell her how much I love her and how much she means to me, and that it's my choice, that my choice doesn't need a reason. Example, if you walk into an ice cream shop and it's vanilla and chocolate, and I asked you, what's your favorite ice cream? And you say chocolate, and then I ask you why. You start thinking of reasons to support your choice of that chocolate. Well, we can go on for this forever. But the truth is, you chose chocolate because you fucking chose chocolate. That's it, Whatever reasons are to that is yours, So I started telling her, hey, there's a party going on over here. I'd like you to go with me. I'm like, I'm not gonna go. She's like, well, why? It's like, because I'm not gonna go. I don't need to come up with a reason, an excuse, something to make you feel like, to give me the permission to omit myself from going to a party so that you can basically have control over my decision of my flavor of ice cream. I chose chocolate. I chose chocolate because I fucking chose chocolate. I don't have to have a reason, It's not because I like it. It's just that's what I chose that day, right? It's so when I really felt that in my bones, in my spirit, always starting with telling her how much I loved her though first. Don't give me that part can't be omitted. She needed to understand that first I loved her and I supported her and everything she wanted, but also I fucking chose chocolate, right? And things started changing at that point. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Good stuff. All right, guys, anything else? I don't hear you, Julio. I don't hear you, bro. Do you hear us? Man, he's getting so passionate. I feel so bad. We can't hear you, man. We can't hear you. Okay. Nope. Nope.
Here? No?
Yes,
Nothing?
now can.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me ask the question again. What do you do when you don't feel supported, no matter how much you provide and fulfill your role in your house and in your marriage? And it's never enough. And when they don't recognize your efforts.
I tell you, it's never enough because your direction is not right.
Can I make a smart comment? Alex, please. Man, just pack up and leave, man. No, no, I'm just playing, man.
So it's a very tough place to be when you feel like you're doing everything and it's not appreciated. Um, Maybe we'll get into different types of communication between people because sometimes um, because people have different ways of communicating. If you're not communicating in their language, then they don't feel like you're investing, right? Because they feel like whatever you're doing it for yourself because you feel better. And then you're not doing it despite yourself, which is really where the investment is, right? So practically speaking, let me ask you a question. What like run me through your basic day? Like, what do you do?
Okay, I'm a petroleum engineer. I'm working from an estatal enterprise here in Colombia, Bogota. Nowadays, I'm unemployed, but I'm keeping provide my house. Yeah, for my savings, through my savings, and play my role as always. I have maybe a lot of time in my house now. Before I don't stay too much in the house. Maybe it's an issue that I'm here in the house too much time with her. But basically, is now my day, my nowadays. Uh, I'm just looking for work. I think that maybe the rest of the year I been unable to get one, but I certainly know that it's not my how do you say, it's not last forever. Okay.
Was it like that before you were out of work?
Say again, please.
Was the challenge before you were out of work? Like, was it the same when you were working, or did it get worse when?
No, it's the same. Nowadays, it's worse, but before it's the same issue.
And did you talk about it?
Yeah. I
And
I, I
what
said
is
to
she
her
saying?
that she don't choose right her husband because she has to marry with a millionaire man.
Well, what's her challenge? What's her issue? What is she saying? What is she complaining about?
She talk about the time, my time with my kids, um, and really is just the only complaint that she has. But I feel it's not really the issue because I spend my time with my girls and play
Well,
with
did
her.
you ask her? Did you ask her? Because when she gives you a legitimate complaint, you want to understand what is the issue, right? You want to see how she sees you should be spending the time. Um, Basically, like when I'm having a conversation with my wife and she says, "Listen, you don't spend enough time with the kids." So I want to say, "Okay, how do you see I should be spending time with them?" And then she can either drop it on me and say, you're the father, figure it out. Or she can say, listen, like, David, your son, you need to maybe take him out, do some more manly stuff with her, with a girl. Maybe you need to do, read with her something, or so she can give you suggestions of how she sees as the right way to approach the situation. She's the expert, essentially. She feels the kids a lot better than we do. Did you dig a little bit?
Yeah, I think that she wants that I play maybe the same role that she plays with the girls. Yeah, do the same stuff that she do with her. Uh, I'm trying to do that a little bit, but I'm a man. I maybe do I like to do with her, with my girls, a little different things, but maybe for her it's not the right things. I don't know.
So you want to become a little bit more of an expert on the field. You have a reason for spending time with the girls the way you do, and she has a reason to think that maybe you need to spend it differently. I would choose to explain your position if it's really the issue, like maybe something else is bothering her. But I would just say, listen, the way I'm spending time with the girls is because this is what they need. They need a father, they need one-on-one time, maybe we draw it together. I don't know what you do, but justify it, right? And say, I have a feeling, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, you can tell your wife, I have a feeling that maybe that's not what's bothering you. So I want to be the man that you deserve. So tell me really, like, I want us to be honest. Tell me what's really bothering you. Because I don't understand when you tell me I don't spend time with the kids. I don't get it.
Yeah, really, I never asked her that. Literally, never asked too direct, like you
Direct.
said. Yeah.
And she will appreciate it because you're taking interest. You're not just going, gotta be direct.
Julio, wouldn't be, it's just because you're more at the house and she sees you more and there's no separation between when you used to go to work and now that you're 24/7 in the house, maybe she feels like she needs her own space too.
Maybe cool. Maybe cool do that.
Alex, what do you think?
The house is a terrible place for a man to be. That's a big no-no. Because
But I have an issue too, because when I go out and I spend a lot of time out of the house, she always want uh, me being here in the house with her. And I don't understand. It's I don't know. It's I don't. It's different the messages that she sent me.
I guess, like Alex says, you need to clarify. You need to have
you
her
gotta get
ask her directly. What's
gotta
up? What
get
do you want?
you gotta
Sorry,
get
Alex.
angry. You gotta get
Yeah.
angry. You're very passive. Your personality. You don't want conflict. She's creating conflict because she wants to feel that you care. Because
Okay.
when you get emotional, she can finally like, oh, he cares. Because like, what do you want? What do you want? I provide. I play with the kids. I play with the kids. What do you want? Tell me. And then you can have a different conversation. You
Julio,
can.
Julio, tienes que emputarte con ella porque parece que lo que ella necesita, no joda, que puta, ¿qué quieres? ¿Qué es lo que tú quieres? Verdaderamente, te doy esto, te doy aquello, te quejas por esto, te quejas por aquello. Entonces, ¿qué carajo quieres? Ah, ya estoy
Osvaldo,
mamado.
ya ha pasado, marica. Ya ha pasado, pero
No, pero tienes que,
no reacciones realmente. Sí, yo creo que no, es hacerle la pregunta directa como dice Ali. It's
yeah,
just asking directly, like you say.
yeah, like Alex
Yeah.
said, what the hell do you want?
Directly. And directly you can be kind, you can be soft, you can get upset, you can express emotion. If you're frustrated, get frustrated. I tell you, when I had issues and that's where it's great to have older friends. I was having issues early on in my marriage. And my friend, he was like 40 at the time. He goes, when she comes at you with challenges, what do? So I'm like, oh, shut up. I feel that she's right, maybe, right? When she makes her arguments, I have nothing to say back. And it's like, why? Fight, get into a fight. So when we started fighting, suddenly I realized that what's bothering her, it's not really what's bothering her. What's bothering her is that I don't care enough to get into a conversation with her. Now, again, try different things. I have a feeling that I'm hearing only one side of the argument. Ozzy is right, because a man, it's very difficult when a woman sees a man at home, she naturally has a feeling that he's not doing anything.
Mhm.
Just natural, because the home is her domain. A man is not supposed to be at home. Go out, get yourself an office at a friend's place, whatever you need to do. If you're home, you need to be fixing something for her.
Alex, let me jump in quick. I physically leave my house when she was at home. I just go do something. Then at the end of the day, she asked me, she goes, oh, I had to take care of things, you know, but I will not stay at the house because you don't see a doctor. So she sometimes works from home, like 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. And I make sure that I'm gone. I don't need her to look at me and judge me, because
Exactly.
I can do, the shit that I can do in the house, I could do it in an hour, or I could do it in 6 hours. But I don't need to be judged on my ability to do things by somebody who doesn't know what the fuck I'm doing, you know?
Sure.
So I don't go to her office and judge her the way she talks to her patients, right? So I don't expect that from so what I do is I remove myself from the equation. That's number one.
Very
Number
good.
two, if at the end of the day, she pretends to ask me like she cares about what she wants me to do, I learned from Alex, how to explain that. And now I don't explain that at all, because it's true what Alex says. She doesn't really give a fuck what my day was like or what my struggles were, right? She just feels like, I asked her, so now it's polite enough for her to ask me. She really don't give a fuck. So I just gave her the simplest answer. Oh, I ran the errands that I typically run, and that's it. I leave it at that. She
Yeah.
feels complete because she asked me, but really, did she give a fuck? No, she really didn't give a fuck,
Julio, the other thing is, or the other question is a little personal question. Are you banging her head on the wall?
Yeah, that's another.
Sexualmente.
Yeah, sí, claro. No, te entiendo, te entiendo.
Okay.
I want it, but she doesn't play a lot with me like that. Yeah, but she has a little bit complaints. She literally she says that she's too fat and she look pretty for me, but damn, I don't give a fuck that. Yeah, I want her, and I will try to do that in everything and every places, but maybe she's a little bit
Self-conscious.
restricted with her body. I don't know.
So
No, but
guys, we gotta wrap it up. This is a very important topic.
I know.
I gotta think how we can address it, but I think we should maybe explore it at a different time and see. Let me think about next week. It'll be
can I
for
say,
everybody.
Okay.
It'll be for everybody, but towards you.
enamórala de nuevo, acaríciala todos los días, dale besitos, traer unas flores de vez en cuando, out of the blue, empieza a acariciarla, sóbala, dile vaina en el oído, cógela así, muérdela, o sea, cógela en el sentido de que tú las deseas en todo el momento, despacio, y la aprieta para que le vaya despertando esa vaina que tiene adentro que no la ha soltado. Eso es lo que tienes que hacer con ella. Poco a poco
Ozzy,
la vas.
I don't speak Spanish, Ozzy.
I
That's
know
not
you
fair.
don't. I'm sorry.
Socrates,
I'm
like
sorry. I'm sorry.
Socrates smiling.
Sorry. Sorry.
I feel like you
Okay,
just made
okay.
love to him in a different language.
No, because the thing I'm trying to explain to him is like, look, just go ahead and grab
Actually,
her.
that's exactly what he said, Alex, except to tell her. So
Yeah.
romanticize her again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
romanticize her. Make her feel like you want her. Make her understand that you are a man and you want her because she's your wife.
Osvaldo,
That's
I
all.
do that, but it's not for me, it's for her. She don't feel,
Because that's what she sees. In her mind, she still see herself that she's fat. Okay.
okay.
She's not in love with herself because she doesn't feel like you appreciate the package that she's in.
I got it. Next
So-
next week we'll talk about courtship.
All right, all right, guys.
You got it, guys.
And
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you very
That was
much.
great.
Thank you.
All
all.
right, guys.
Powerful conversation.
Get
today.
nasty, get nasty.
Yeah, yeah. I have the Nutella in the kitchen.
I'm ending this meeting for everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
nice one.